Hello! I've just read chapter 19 of The Last of the Jedi, The Desperate Mission. So when we pick up where we left off, with Obi-Wan and Ferris hiding behind the curtains as Malorum and Boba Fett walk into the office. And Malorum's quite frustrated at Boba Fett, and he's seeming to be a bit contradictory on himself. We learn that Boba Fett was the investigator on Polis Marsa and also on Naboo. Apparently Malorum something to investigate on Naboo. And he's a bit angry with Fett, saying, "You let Ferris Olin escape into USA." Hold on, let me find the exact lines. "You let them get away." Malorum raised his voice and hit each word hard. Oh. That's... Still, Boba said nothing. "Aren't you going to say anything? Because of you, Ferris Olin escaped and was able to return to USA. Now he is somewhere in this building." "Isn't that what you wanted?" Boba asked. "You wanted to show the citizens of USA that you could get him. You got him. If he's in the building, you'll find him. He can't get out." Malorum leaned in closer. "You were hired to find him. I'm telling you that he's here. Bring him to me." "I told you when I took the job I needed to know everything," Boba said. "You didn't tell me Jedi would be involved." "I didn't know. It was your business to know." "Did you recognise him?" "No, but he's very skilled." "Interesting," Malorum murmured. "Are you using the Jedi as an excuse for your failure?" Boba says no, and he asks for a raise. And Malorum tells him, "No, I'm not authorised," but eventually Boba convinces Malorum to give him a raise. To find them. Once Malorum and Boba Fett leave... Also, Ferris is actually quite impressed with Boba Fett, because he just keeps staring down Malorum and doesn't seem to be all that bothered by his frustration, and he's a bit unsettled by it. But he's even thinking Malorum looks a bit unsettled as well. But eventually, once they leave, Obi-Wan and Ferris decide that they need to get over to one of the service doors, because that is where they take all the laundry. And it's almost 9, which is when Mariana, of course, comes to collect the laundry. And so Obi-Wan and Ferris make their way over through the pipes again, and Ferris is a bit and they eventually come across some sensors, and they go, it's in infrared, and it might notice Obi-Wan and Ferris. And so Obi-Wan asks Ferris if he's able to lower his body temperature through the Force. Ferris isn't quite confident, as he still isn't quite there with it yet. But Obi-Wan keeps saying, "I know you can, I've felt it, you can become a Jedi again. I know you can." And Ferris thinks back to Siri. Again, I haven't read the Jedi Quest books, but I know Ferris is quite a prominent character in there, and I'm fairly sure Siri is as well. And you have I assume it's probably a quote from earlier in those books, but it may also just be something Ferris is thinking of what she might say, and it's, "Thinking that hard must hurt. Just go ahead and do it. Don't think about your actions, just make your actions your thoughts. And just keep moving." And Ferris agrees, and he does it, and they're able to go ahead. And eventually they hide in the laundry after they get into that block, and They slide down, hide into the laundry that a droid's left. The droid's so close to getting them into the hangar where they can escape. And an Imperial officer stops them because the building's in lockdown. Then Trevor is there, and he starts to guilt trip the officer. He starts to make him get all worried. And he starts saying, I've got General Malorum's robes here. He's not a general, he's Inquisitor Malorum. Whatever. But I've got his robes here. I've got his robes here. And he continues to guilt trip the officer. And he's saying that he ordered me to give him his robes at this time specifically today. And I'm sure he wouldn't be happy if he didn't get them today. And if you say no, he can't, and if you deny it, and have you denied an order of his before? And the officer gets a bit all worried, and he says to the droid, okay, just this one delivery. And the door starts to open, and he starts to open the door starts to slide open, then an alarm goes off. So then Ferris and everyone take that one chance of escaping. They leap out of the laundry. Obi-Wan force pushes the officer back. Ferris tries to force push the stormtrooper with the officer back, but he is unable to. He can't expect to get it, and as it says, he can't expect it to get it right all the time. So it just says he slammed his shoulder into the Imperial officer, knocking him over, even though the officer's already knocked down. And I don't think it means Ferris when it's doing that. So I don't know what's going on with the stormtrooper. It's just standing there. But eventually Obi-Wan and Ferris leap out through the door into the hangar, and they see Boba Fett's ship, and I think it's Dahan's ship. It was described as a silver cruiser. And eventually stormtroopers start coming in and firing out on Obi-Wan and Ferris. Obi-Wan starts deflecting the bolts. Ferris gets into the silver cruiser, uses the cannons to start blasting away at the stormtroopers. Obi-Wan gets into the cruiser and they start flying off. But Boba Fett is running across the hangar and is getting into his fire spray, the slave one. And eventually Obi-Wan and Ferris are up over in space, and they're no longer on the planet. And then there's a small interaction that I'll just read to you. We have to jump to hyperspace. It's the only way we can lose Fett, Obi-Wan said. I know. As long as you remain on the planet, the Empire will use you to threaten the citizens. Once we leave, you might not be able to return for a long time. Maybe never. Ferris gave one backward glance at Belasa. He thought of everything he was leaving. He thought of Rome. I know, he said again. And that's where we end off the chapter. So, I'm going to be curious to see what Ferris is actually going to do. I'm going to be curious as to whether he takes too long to make the decision, whether he decides to go back, or whether he does make the jump. Because again, I don't know if he'll go back for Roan in one of the later books, because I don't believe he would leave him. I think you can really tell he and Roan have a lot of love for each other, and I don't think they would leave each other. So yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what goes on in that, and what decision he makes in the next and last chapter of this book. Unfortunately, well, don't worry. There's another 9 books to go through, so the story's not over yet. But yeah, I enjoyed the chapter. No creepy remarks from Ferris yet in this chapter, but it was good. Again, not a whole lot to say because it is a what's the word? An action chapter. But I think maybe the most I have to say is when it comes over to Malorum. You really do I don't quite know why he's angry at Boba Fett for for not being able to kill Ferris, because even Boba Fett's confused, saying, "But you wanted him in Usa, didn't you?" But when you do think about it, yeah, it does kind of make sense, because, again, if the Empire is able to detain or kill Ferrus, in that sense that the beacon of rebellion will be denied. So, yeah. But I'm going to be interested to see how the last few pages in the next chapter play out. Because, again, it is the last chapter. The next page is 162 of 168, so, yeah. I'm going to be interested to see how the chapter plays out. And I'm going to be interested to see in the next book as well. And I'm also going to be it's also going to be a fun time with Inquisitor Sankor in the next book, because I know Sankor appears in that, and I also know how he dies. Poor Sankor. But we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. I think with Malorum, anyway, in this chapter with Malorum, even though he definitely seems to be, he just wants Ferrus detained or killed. He's trying to send a message with Ferrus. But also, you can kind of tell how fed up he is with Boba Fett. Because he even literally says, this is the last time I'm using you for a job, so... yeah, there's not really a whole lot for me to say about this chapter. Again, it was good, I enjoyed it. I was not expecting Trevor to appear again in this book, in the laundry bit. I assume he's probably going to make his own infiltrations to try and free them, but yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed the chapter. There was I do want to kind of mention one bit a little bit earlier, where it was Ferrus is thinking about how Boba Fett was just another orphan of the war, who had another young person who had seen and suffered too much at an early age, and how Trevor, just like Trevor, but unlike Trevor, who was good-hearted, Boba Fett isn't, so yeah. But again, I enjoyed the chapter, and I'll probably be merging this recording with the next one after I read chapter 20, so yeah. Thank you all for watching, goodbye. Hello, I have read the last chapter, chapter 20 of The Last of the Jedi, the Desperate Mission. So, it's definitely a bit of an epilogue chapter, but it's definitely leading into the next book. I can't remember the name of that book. I know it's got something to do with I know the book will have something to do with Polar Smarter though. Anyway, we open it up with Ferrus. They're in hyperspace, so Ferrus did leave Bellarsa behind, and we see that Ferrus is hurt that he had to leave Bellarsa behind. It was like, it says that it was his adopted home, but he wasn't native to Bellarsa, but it was a world he had adopted as his home world. And how he had made a life there, and it just tore him in two. He was gutted to leave it behind. But Obi-Wan puts in coordinates to a spaceport, to two red dying stars, and we get to learn that Ferrus got to know Obi-Wan over the course of this book more than he did in his years in the Jedi Temple. And he asks Obi-Wan about Polar Smarter, and why he seemed to go cold when he brought it up, and Obi-Wan tells him that he can't tell Ferrus, and it's not because he doesn't trust him. He does. But it's what he knows, but it's the reason could not only endanger Ferrus, it could endanger what he believes in. and how he has to go into exile to wait, because, and he has to go into exile to wait, and that's what he believes will save the galaxy, which again, Luke, Leia, and also says that he can figure out a way for Ferris to contact him if he needs to. And Ferris says it's going to be his duty to try and find the Jedi and his surviving Jedi. He doesn't believe that all the Jedi are dead, he just can't accept it. And then they'll have to get ready for war, and Ferris says it's inevitable, especially now that you told me Palpatine is a Sith. And Obi-Wan just says, and that's all the more reason to wait. Then he asks him about if Anakin had a reason in Ferris leaving the Order. Now again, I haven't read the Jedi Quest books, but Ferris said everyone has a part. And we learn that he wants to know what happened to Anakin, because again, remember, Obi-Wan told him Anakin died, and Ferris wants to know how Anakin died, but also doesn't want to ask Obi-Wan in case of bringing up painful memories for him. And he also doesn't want to mention why he left the Order, because apparently he had his suspicions that Anakin deliberately knew that True Veld's lightsaber would malfunction, and it led to the death of Dara. Again, not read the Jedi Quest books, so I don't know anything about that. But, yeah. And yet he still somehow felt responsible. And we learn that he fixed True's lightsaber and kept it a secret, and I assume that's the lightsaber he owns. He still has, and apparently Anakin knew about that as well. And it goes on to say that mistakes were made, my boys by Padawans who went to dream about being Jedi Masters, who dreamed about being Jedi Masters, and how that dream is gone. And how again he can't believe that the Jedi are gone. He wouldn't accept it. He would scour the galaxy for any remaining Jedi. And Obi-Wan then cuts back in, still thinking about his resignation from the Order, with him saying, I should have realised it. And he says he should have asked more questions, something didn't feel right at the time. And Ferris said it doesn't matter, he walked away. It was the most difficult decision he ever had to make, but he was glad that happened. And Obi-Wan tells him that he's still a Jedi, and Ferris says he's not because he has attachments. And he says he can never be a Jedi again because he has attachments. Obi-Wan tells him that something about he wanted when he was a Padawan to Qui-Gon. And how Qui-Gon said to him that eventually the galaxy would change, the Jedi would change, and Obi-Wan believes that attachment is not going to be a weakness but a strength for the Jedi going forward, and how he is a Jedi. And then he also says maybe that's how the galaxy's saved. And then Trevor appears. He apparently hid on the ship when the alarm went off. Because I forgot to mention, Trevor ran away when the alarm went off in the building. So he went and hid in the cruiser, and he's going, Ferris, you're a Jedi? And Obi-Wan and Ferris are shocked. And then Trevor goes, well, I needed a vacation. And then Ferris tells him, good, enjoy the ride, because you're going on the first transport back when we land. And Trevor is a bit, no, you can't, I'm stuck with you. The Empire have my face, They know that I helped you escape. They would probably imprison me and have me executed. It's stuck with me. And Ferris is very annoyed at that, and and he just says, "How lucky can you get?" But Obi-Wan was starting to feel something. I'm actually going to reread that actually. But now Obi-Wan kind of understands why he had to leave. It wasn't just to meet up with Ferris and save him, but it was to find purpose. He spent so long trying to become an exile and became a Jedi again. And how he had spent so long thinking and dreaming of the dead, and now it was time to join the living, and how that was why he was watching over Luke, and why it was so crucial to look over Luke, and how he couldn't lose hope, and how everything he knew was gone. He was just wishing it to be back, and that was just a childish dream that he wouldn't be able to reach. And how what he knew had been gone, what he loved had been gone forever, what he was coming he didn't know, but he wanted to help form that future. And it wasn't just out of duty, it was from out of his heart. Eventually they get to the spaceport, they land. Ferris is hoping to have a good meal and some rest, and Obi-Wan hates to burst his bubble, but Ferris looks over with Obi-Wan, and he follows Obi-Wan's gaze, and there is Boba Fett's ship, the Slave One. And that's where the book ends. So yeah, I enjoyed this book. It was quite good. I quite enjoyed it. Liking Ferris's character. I think Valorum has been quite good so far. He hasn't appeared much, but he was quite good with the scenes he had. Trevor, again, he's got a bit of an attitude, and he's a bit of a mood as well, but he's good as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how the story will progress and how much more involvement Obi-Wan will have, because again, I'm fairly sure he doesn't appear in the later books of when it comes to the Master of the Jedi. I'm fairly sure he only appears in the initial books, so in the first 2, maybe 3. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how everything progresses. So yeah, again, I enjoyed this chapter. I think it was a good way to close off the book. We get to see Ferris's pain, we get to see what was that? Sorry, sometimes I've been struggling to focus on the book occasionally, and I have to keep. That's what again why I do these reviews. It helps refresh my mind on what happens in the chapter. But we get to see Ferris. We get to Ferris's pain over having to leave Bellaris alone. We see Obi-Wan's sense of duty to protect Luke, and what he believes in. And how it doesn't mean in a mean way to Ferris, but it's just how he believes the galaxy will be saved. We have everyone, of course, asking the questions, Ferris being a bit hesitant and trying to avoid it. And everyone keeps on reassuring him, You are a Jedi, you can be a Jedi again. And, yeah. I'm probably gonna have a break from the book, from the series, for a little bit. Probably just about a day or so. Maybe, if that, I may go back, may continue them later today or tomorrow, but, you know, have a bit of a break maybe. But yeah, I enjoyed the first book. I'm looking forward to reading the second one, and I'll be interested to see how the story progresses. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.